Hey everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Melva Rozier. I'm a staff attorney with the Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County. I am the project attorney for the Elder Law and Veterans Project. And today I want to speak to you a little bit about managing your mortgage during COVID-19 and share some pros and pitfalls with you. It's a brief overview of my presentation. We're going to talk briefly about the Federal CARES Act and its impact on mortgages, a declaration of the Florida governor. We're going to talk about the Palm Beach County ordinances and administrative orders in place, and take an overview of FHA mortgages and HICM mortgages, Fannie and Freddie Mae mortgages, talk briefly about some non-GSE mortgages, and give you some resources and practical applications during the COVID crisis. I want to preface this presentation and give you a few very important things to know. First, for many homeowners, there's a lot of help that's available, but you have to assess your situation. If you can pay your mortgage right now, pay it. That's probably the best advice I can give you for today. If you aren't facing an immediate issue or hardship, a lot of my friends are calling now saying, hey, can I get a moratorium? Can I get a break? But the reality is that they are working from home and their income hasn't changed at all. And they don't really have a hardship. They just wanted to know if they could have 90 days off from paying their mortgages because they're listening to information. And some of them are confused about whether there's mortgage forgiveness or forbearance. So we're going to talk a little bit later in the presentation about the differences between a forbearance and forgiveness. And there's nothing that the government is offering right now that is tantamount to loan forgiveness. If you can't pay your mortgage, of course, or you can only make a portion of your payment, then what you need to do is call your loan servicer immediately. And it may take a while because for the month of March, it's reported that almost 30% of loans are already in default, or that the homeowners are attempting to make modification or obtain forbearances. So your loan services are going to be extremely busy, and you're going to have to be persistent about seeking relief. Finally, I want to state that this presentation is designed to give overall information about mortgage options available during COVID, but it's not designed to provide specific legal advice to the listeners or attendees, nor is it a substitute for seeking personal legal counsel to assist you with your specific mortgage. The Federal CARES Act on mortgages. Section 4022 of the CARES Act was passed, and it covers and deals specifically with federally backed mortgages, so that if you're experiencing financial difficulty directly or indirectly due to COVID, then for federally serviced loans, regardless of the delinquency status, which I think is really, really important. There was a time when you had to be delinquent to get a mortgage modification or seek a forbearance. In this particular case, you don't have to be delinquent. And even if you are delinquent, I have clients who are currently in foreclosure, and I'm encouraging them to call and seek a forbearance because you are able to obtain one under the federal CARES status, even if you are delinquent. So if you got a foreclosure next week, you can still request a forbearance under the Federal CARES Act. You have to submit a request to the borrower, to your servicer, and the guidelines as to how you can submit this request are very broad. You can text, you can fax, you can email your lender if you can get in touch with them, and all it requires is that the borrower affirm that they're experiencing financial hardship due to COVID-19. The statute is written very broadly because it says that all you have to say is that you're experiencing a direct or indirect financial hardship as a result for COVID-19. And it also doesn't require you to send any documentation of that hardship. So for borrowers who are behind, it's a good opportunity to get an additional stay on your mortgage. There are two main aspects of the Federal CARES Act. First, your lender or servicer can't foreclose for you for 60 days after March 18th. So for 60 days after the statute is implemented, which gives us right now until approximately May 17th or 16th, for a federal related loan, your servicer is prohibited from filing foreclosure against you and also obtaining a sale during this particular time. So if you're experiencing the hardship and you request a forbearance, you have actually a right to request a forbearance for up to 180 days. And if you're still experiencing hardship after the 180 days, you can seek an additional extension for 180 days. So close to a year, essentially a year, you're able to obtain a forbearance. During that time, you aren't supposed to have any additional fees, penalty, or late fees or interest added to your account. And you do not have to submit financial documents other than your claim that you're having a hardship to document that you need the forbearance. And I'm saying forbearance, but I want to make sure everyone understands the difference between forbearance and forgiveness. Forbearance just allows you to have a pause in your mortgage payment. It is not forgiveness. At some point, you will have to repay this money. So it's not going to be erased. It's just going to be kicked down the line in some form or fashion, and you'll have to repay it. When your income is restored, you can resume making your payments. But again, forgiveness and forbearance are not synonymous. There's specific relief for Floridians. On April the 2nd, our governor implemented order number 2094 with respect to mortgage foreclosure and eviction relief. It has not been extended at this point, but what the governor did in implementing this emergency management order is suspended the time and toll for mortgage foreclosures for 45 days. He was very specific in this order, and implementing number 3 of the order says that he didn't want this executive order to be construed as relieving homeowners for their obligations to make payments under their mortgage. All it is giving you is a 45-day grace period whereby any foreclosure would not be implemented. Palm Beach County took it a step further. Our chief implemented a COVID order number 12510, mitigating the response to COVID, and scheduled any scheduled jury trial is canceled, and additionally, the clerk will not issue writs of possession, and all foreclosure trials were suspended. As we were speaking just a few moments ago, the Supreme Court issued another order, and it's listed there, which has now extended the time for non-jury trials and writs of possession so that they won't issue before July the 2nd. So that's very good news if you have a client who is in the process of being evicted, or you yourself may be facing eviction. There will be no trials in Palm Beach County before July 2nd. And effective April the 3rd, anyone entering the courthouse in Palm Beach County is actually required to have their temperature taken. So if you have to go, be prepared. If you have a fever above 100.4, you will be absolutely turned away. Okay. There's specific relief for different types of mortgages. FHA and HICM or reverse mortgages have specific provisions available to them and to those people who have those particular loans. In order to determine if you have an FHA mortgage or a HICM mortgage, you can simply look at the actual mortgage agreement that you have. If you don't have it in your possession, your mortgage is recorded. You can always go online to palmbeachcountyclerk.com and go to official records, and your mortgage is recorded there. So you can actually look at the face of the document. An FHA mortgage will have a number on it. It will say FHA mortgage number, whatever it is. And your HICM mortgage will specifically say that it's a HECM mortgage. And those particular mortgages have provisions available to them under COVID-19. The 3 most important things that you need to do to protect your home investment during this particular time. 1, as I stated, is make your payment if you're available to do so. And if you're unable to do so, contact your mortgage servicer at your earliest possible time. It's best experienced a mortgage foreclosure crisis in 2007. And so although there are very flexible ways that the CARES Act has provided that you may communicate with your loan servicer for your protection at a later date, it's best to communicate with your loan servicer in writing although the CARES Act does not require that your servicer at this time manifest your payment deferment in writing. So you could have a verbal from your lender that you're going to have a 90-day forbearance at this time. There's nothing mandated right now that requires any documentation. So contact your mortgage company, pay if you can. If you can't pay, contact a HUD-approved loan counselor, or alternatively, you can contact our office at the Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County. Again, I'm in the elder law unit, so if your client is under 60, do not ask for me when you call. If they are over 60, please feel free to ask for me and to seek assistance before you begin the process. The FHA loan servicer will only ask you to confirm that you have a financial hardship, either directly or indirectly due to COVID-19, but they will not require documentation. It won't be like your traditional modification where you have to send bank statements, pay stubs. All you have to say is that I'm affected. The biggest thing that you have to watch out for is at the end of your forbearance, your loan servicer is going to have to work with you to help you figure out what type of mortgage plan you will be on at that point. They're not going to require you to pay all 3 months if it's a forbearance, or do a lump sum at the end of your forbearance, but you will have to work out some payment plan at the end of the term. You won't be charged interest. You won't have any negative impact on your credit during the time. Your lender will report you as being on time or in a forbearance plan, but you will again have to work out some sort of payment plan. Here's some FAQs that I've received already from different clients and different persons regarding their options during COVID-19. They want to know, how do I contact my lender? What do I need to let them know? I've already stated there are many options with respect to how you contact your servicer. The key is just to contact them as soon as possible, and certainly before you become delinquent, because the payment plan that's available to you will depend on whether you were current before COVID or whether you were late after COVID. So if you wait till you're late, then the repayment options become limited to you. So it's very crucial that you contact your lender before you're 30 days late on your payment. You're not going to be required to, as I stated earlier, make a lump sum at the end of the payment. Forbearance. If you have an owner-occupied property and you have the ability to make the repayment after 30 days pass, you could be eligible for a COVID standalone partial claim, which is very good, because with the partial claim, you pay no interest, you don't pay any additional fees, and it serves as a junior lien on your property, and you don't have to repay it back unless you sell the property or refinance. Otherwise, it's not due until the loan is matured. If you're not eligible for the standard COVID-19 partial claim, and you wouldn't be eligible if you were delinquent before the COVID crisis existed, then you'll have to be evaluated for some other plan that will allow you to pay the balance over some period of time. If you have a HICM or reverse mortgage, and some of our clients are having to go into nursing home or rehab facilities right now due to COVID-19, they're worried about whether their spouse or their partner can remain in the home while they're in the nursing home, and the answer to that is yes, they can remain on the home, but they have to contact the servicer as soon as possible and to make that request. And I have a little caveat here under taxes, because what you have to be sure of is, and you have to ask your servicer, is what happens to my taxes if I'm unable to pay? Because if you can't pay and your lender pays, then you run the risk at some point of perhaps having forced placed insurance. Those insurance rates are usually substantially higher, and you would have to pay that back at a later time. So you really want to be clear when you talk to your servicer about what's going to happen if they have to advance your taxes or insurance payments. For loans who are serviced by Freddie Mac, and there's a lookup tool I'll give you at the end. You can go onto Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae's website and do a loan lookup to determine which of these servicers hold your loan and determine which programs you may be eligible for. So for Freddie Mac homeowners, they have the ability to obtain a forbearance of up to 12 months. Your late fees and penalties and interest will be waived. And currently, there's a moratorium on the evictions and foreclosures for borrowers who are living in Freddie Mac owned property until at least at this point, May 17th of 2020. And what Freddie Mac has committed to do, hopefully, is to offer loan modifications at a lower payment, or at least keep the payment the same after the forbearance forbearance expires. So initially, borrowers will not receive an offer for a 12-month forbearance, but they'll start with a shorter period of time, and the borrower can keep seeking extensions if necessary over 12 months until the hardship has been resolved, after which there's several options to repay the money, including a full repayment, known as a reinstatement, a repayment plan, a payment deferral or modification, or an overall modification of the loan. What is supposed to happen after the forbearance expires is that the lender reaches out about 30 days before the expiration to determine what program will be offered to the borrower. And as the borrower, or the person who needs assistance, is really going to be key for you to keep up with that time, because the lenders and the servicers are going to be overwhelmed right now. If they don't get to you 30 days out, you don't want to wait until your program expires and then you're seeking options. So you need to calendar as well and to be proactive about getting into a payment plan at least 30 days before your forbearance is set to expire. And if you have difficulty with your lender and you're not being offered any repayment options, you can reach out to the Consumer Protection Bureau. They have a specific task force that's being set up to deal with COVID-19. For borrowers with Fannie Mae loans, pretty much have the same options available. You can get a forbearance of up to 12 months in 6-month increments. So you can get 2 of those. Your late fees will be waived, and you pretty much have the same repayment options. You can set up a repayment plan at the end to catch up gradually, or a loan modification to help keep the payments affordable. They have set up a pretty broad range of resources. They have financial coaches available, and they want you to utilize HUD-approved counselors. 2 of our partners that we work with locally are the Urban League and Debt Helpers. They have HUD-approved counselors there who can work with you individually to help you come up with a plan. And here's a loan lookup tool here. You just look at loan lookup. You will need the address of the property, and you'll need the last 4 of the Social Security to determine if your property is Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac owned. And if you're not able to look it up, you're welcome to contact our office, and we'll look it up and help you determine what programs that may be available to you. Here's some questions when you're talking to your servicer that you want to ensure that you ask to avoid some of the pitfalls. You want to find out, will the missed mortgage payments be folded into future payments? And this is if you're dealing with non-GSE lenders. If you're dealing with GSE lenders, which I just mentioned are Fannie, FHA, and then HICM, their procedures are detailed and mandated by the federal government. So these pitfalls are really to deal with when you're dealing with lenders who are not Fannie, Freddie, or government-sponsored entities. You want to find out what's going to happen at the end of your forbearance if your lender gives it to you. Am I going to have to repay that money in a few months? Am I going to have to do a lump sum? What are the options available to me? You want to know those things before you accept a forbearance or enter into a forbearance plan. Typically, what's happened with modifications before, after a forbearance, you could end up with the servicer having to restructure your mortgage altogether. And now you've gone from a 20-year mortgage to a 40-year mortgage. And so you want to be sure what the terms are going to be going forward. If you have an escrow account, you want to find out what's going to happen with your property charges and your insurance premiums, and what will happen if those expenses aren't paid, because the CARES Act doesn't provide any clarity with respect to that. So your lender may pay for that insurance premium on the property taxes because it's going to protect the home and protect their interest in the home, but their premiums may be higher. If you go to NerdWalletcom, the URL is there. It probably provides the most comprehensive list of all of the lenders from A to Z, and provides about a paragraph for what each of those lenders are providing by way of COVID relief for their borrowers. Otherwise, you can contact your individual servicer and find out what options may be available to you. But you have to ask about those expenses. And, you know, it all comes down to pay or not to pay. And it's all going to come down to your individual situation, your ability to repay, and to enter a subsequent program that's going to work for you and your family. It's key to sit down with an attorney or housing counselor to discuss your options. And your mortgage payment is not going to go away on its own. So don't wait until your options are limited. Contact someone now while these programs are available to you, and particularly in Palm Beach County before foreclosure trials begin again, and get back on the calendar. It has been a pleasure to do this presentation for you all. Again, I'm in the Elder Law Unit, and I can be reached at 561-655-8944, extension 366, or email at mrozier@legalaidpbc.org, only if the client is 60 or over. I'm going to open up the floor right now to any questions that you may have.
Melva, there's a question that came in over the chat, and the question is, are VA loans covered under CARES Act?
VA loans are federally regulated loans, and the VA has issued specific provisions with respect to VA loans that run about the same parallel as what's available to other FHA mortgages. So yes, it's federally regulated, and it is regulated by CARES. Anything else?
I have no other questions. That was Melva Rozier from Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County. Her information is available on the screen. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar. Thank you, Melva.
Thank you.
Before you go, I just want to put a plug in. We have another webinar tomorrow, avoiding scams during the COVID crisis, which will be presented by Jeffrey Jones, who runs our Victim of Crimes program. And then on Thursday, we will have a webinar by Aileen Singh, who runs our homeless legal prevention program, and that will be about avoiding evictions for non-payment of rent. So we have 2 more webinars left this week. If you have other ideas of topics that you would like our staff to cover, please contact Takesha Miles in the Fair Housing and Elder Law Department. And if you need a certificate for attending any of our webinars, especially the one tonight, please also contact me at tmiles@legalaidpbc.org.
And Christopher Benjamin emailed and asked if we could send copies of this webinars. I'm not sure what agency you're with, Christopher, but if you can provide us with the information, you have our email address, we're happy to share it with you.
Thank you, Melva.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.